Good evening and welcome back to the Fallout Bar after night 12 of the Premier League. I had to double check then. I'd forgotten how many nights we'd had. But we are 3/4 of the way through the season. And yeah, really good night. I was actually quite enjoyed that tonight, I've got to say. But what I'm enjoying even more is seeing Mr. Dan Simpson alongside me. It's the good old days. We haven't had one of these for quite some time.
It's
back in with the new lads last week, but you've got me again this week. How are you, mate?
It's a bit of a throwback, isn't it? Yeah, it's good. I tell you what took me by surprise a little bit was I had not surprise, but I had a lovely little early start last week. It was my first Fallout Bar of the year, and of course we were an hour ahead. So it was quite nice, and I got to bed at a reasonable hour and all was well. And I find myself a little bit more tired this week getting onto the Fallout Bar.
Back onto the 7 o'clock start.
No, we're back onto British summertime, and it's all of a sudden we're past my bedtime again. But yeah, it was good. You know, I if I'm honest, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to do. I wasn't. You know, I looked at the fixtures and I looked at what might happen and could happen, and I was a bit sort of, you know, struggling to get myself warmed up for it. But I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought we saw some really good darts and some interesting matches, and yeah, it was quite good. I thought it was a canny night.
Yeah, I think, like you say, I was not too sure of what we were going to get going into it, but. And I think the first game possibly didn't have. I don't think the first game either really performed anywhere near the best, but that's where we'll start with a new set of darts for a certain Dutchman, Mr. Jan van Veen, rocking up with a new black set of darts, looking maybe slightly less grippy than the other ones that cut his hands to pieces. But they worked all right as he averaged 91 and beat Gerwen Price 6-4.
Yeah, interesting what this current modern world of social media sends you on your feed, because the timing was quite interesting for me. I was sat in front of the telly, and as you do in this modern day, you have the TV on in front of you, or I had my big telly on, and I was scrolling away on my phone, and just as Jan, started throwing his new darts, the video of, here's my dart set up with Jan van Veen, and I thought, no, it's not.
The old set.
No, it isn't. That's not what I'm looking at all. But no, it was. So I enjoyed this game for a number of reasons, and primarily the main reason I enjoyed it was because I was roundly ridiculed on the live lounge on Monday night for picking this as a Jan van Veen win, and those both in the chat room.
What you realise though is that when you sit on the live lounge on a Monday night, you sat with two morons. Whereas
there is. There is, but no,
and everyone. The Fallout Bar on a Thursday, we're a little bit more sophisticated, a bit more.
It's the higher end, it's the upper class. So I was ridiculed a little bit, and the chat room was, from memory, the chat room predictions were pretty much a clean sweep. When we did predictions last week here on the Fallout, I think the chat room was pretty much a clean sweep in Gezi Price's favour, and it was more out of, as you know, my desperate need to manifest chaos, and for that,
you wanted a top four race.
I wanted that. Just we know the top two are fine. We know that
certainly fine. Now. Certainly after.
Exactly. We spend all the time predicting all these chaotic things, and we get once again 1 and 2 in the final together. So, but I just wanted the pack to concertina up, and I wanted the results to go in a way that got everything a little bit closer. And some went that way, some didn't. But this first one certainly did. And I thought Jan was solid. It was, clearly a very heavy fan favourite coming in was Gezi. The crowd was certainly behind him in Liverpool. Jan, I think, was getting booed on his walk-on.
He doesn't get that very often as the nicest man of the younger generation.
But I thought across the board he handled it very, very well. Obviously, the game was a very unusual one in that the first 5 legs were breaks of throw. I think right up to 3-2.
Yep, you were absolutely bang on.
Constant break of throw, and it became almost a duel as to. And I genuinely thought, like, first one to hold their throw wins. That's all I thought. as the game was going. I was like, first person to hold a throw here. It's such short format. Once you're already 3-2, you're halfway there, and it's been break. First one to hold wins, and lo and behold, in that sixth leg, Jan managed to hold his throw, went 4-2 up, and then Gezi just wasn't firing today at a level that whilst he obviously, it's funny because he had those breaks of throw, quite quickly against Jan, but then couldn't put two legs together. And once that break of throw was in, he's going to have to then put three legs together, and it just looked a bridge too far for Gezi today. His average was all right. He played okay. Dublin wasn't terrible, but he just couldn't.
It was just a way off what we've seen from him recently, wasn't it? Basically,
I it's rare I get the opportunity to blow my own trumpet, but this is almost exactly what I predicted. Was I don't think, and I haven't seen enough yet. There seems to be a lot of people that think that Gezi is, just a shave behind Littler, and the arguments there he's reaching back towards that form that took him to the titles, and I'm not convinced yet. I think there's too many of these games that pop up, or these games pop up too often where really Gezi playing well in full flow pisses this match 6-2.
I should do, yeah.
Gezi in full flow pisses this game 6-2. And it just, he just couldn't make an impact. But I thought Jan did very well, like I say, against the crowd. And
I didn't expect him to be against the crowd, I'll be honest. Especially because we knew the crowd were going to be very much anti-Littler because it's Liverpool, United, all that sort of rivalry. I thought he might get a nice little run today. So, yeah, not so sure. I've just seen Jarlath eating in the chat. I'm sorry, you can't sit there and say that when you absolutely shit yourself out of coming on with us tonight. Yeah,
don't forget, Jarlath. If you've got an opinion, then there is a third box we can slot you in. If you want to come and share your opinion,
right away. You were offered the opportunity earlier on as well and turned it down because I don't know. Well, surprised you're still awake at this time, to be honest with you. I assume you've not had any wine because I was with him last Thursday. He had himself a couple of drinks and passed out drunk at this point.
Oh, just a couple. Just a couple.
Yeah, it literally wasn't even that many. It's an impressive effort from him. It was on a par with Thursday night Minehead almost.
Very, very, very interesting way to start. It got me excited in a way, this game, because like I said, I did want that concertina. I want it to get tighter. And this game set me off on a little bit of a hope that was what we were on track for. And like I said, the rest of the evening didn't quite track with that, but it certainly, and we'll talk, obviously Jan played again, so we'll talk a little bit more about him, but it certainly kept him in the hunt. I do think Jan van Veen is still in the hunt for a place. So. It is still game on, and it's not over yet.
No, definitely not at all. And he's 4 points off, and a nightly win puts him a point clear of fourth as it stands at the moment, depending on other results, obviously. But he's right in there. One man who I think I'm ready to call as being out of there now after tonight is Stephen Bunting. Yes, it's only 7 points, but you know that third place is going to pick up, that fourth place is going to pick up points as we go on as well. I think he's too far back now for me. And there was an opportunity in this game to go and win it. He had a dart to win it in that final leg. But Johnny Clayton just loves a Thursday night, doesn't he?
Oh, he can't get enough of it. He cannot get enough. And I don't want to go in too heavy so early because obviously we've got a few more opportunities to talk about Johnny. But yeah, he just can't. He's always there, and so I think we need to address the fact that the crowd was an unusual one tonight because we knew, like I say, we knew Littler was getting it.
I know where you're going here,
and We talked about it last week. Johnny Clayton is perhaps. I don't remember ever hearing Johnny be booed before. I don't know how you boo Johnny Clayton. I don't understand.
There is nothing you can have against that man.
No. Yeah, very, very unusual to hear.
Not only that, we have to bear in mind when we're thinking about this as well. Yes, he is Welsh, but he is a Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah, but I think I don't care, to be honest, whether I offend anyone. So yeah, why not? What you have to remember, and you have to bear in mind, is that the Premier League audience isn't often like full of darts fans that know a lot about darts. They're enjoying the darts.
People with any semblance of education.
Yeah, well, you and I have been to Premier League nights before.
Certainly by the end of the night, any little bit of education that they had has gone by the time we get towards the end of the night. But this was early.
No, you and I have been Premier League nights before, where there's been lads sat around us nudging us saying, "Who's this lad? Do you think he's fucking ranked third in the world? What are you talking about? Like, is he any good?"
I genuinely think, bear in mind, he's the most famous man in darts by quite some distance, Luke Littler, and outside darts. I think there's people at Premier League nights that still don't know who he is.
They're just going to the darts, aren't they? It's their annual night out. But it was, so hearing Johnny get booed a bit. But again, I then also think if there is a man in the world that just won't be remotely fazed by that in any way whatsoever, was in no way fazed by, what clearly was an occasion for Stephen Bunting. And I think that was evident in that we've seen, right, so Stephen Bunting, some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue, right? Stephen Bunting has been the statue for most of this Premier League campaign because, to give credit where credit is due, he has produced some unbelievable performances. I mean, last week in Rotterdam, bloke averaged 105 and got beat 6-1.
Sort of same point that you made about Johnny being sort of unflappable and one that's not bothered by the booing, because he played Michael van Gerwen first up last week. So 2 weeks ago when we were sat here, I sat there going, it doesn't matter that he's going to get a load of boos and that everyone's going to be on Van Gerwen's side. If there's anyone in this 8 that it doesn't matter to,
no,
it is Johnny Clayton.
No, he'll just turn up and throw his darts at the board, and he'll probably throw them very, very well. And that's exactly what happened. And I do think for the first, we've seen, like I say, in Rotterdam, 105 average getting beat 6-1 like that, and that we've seen some stonking performances from Bunting where he's done everything possible other than get the win. Whereas today, I think that game was that, Johnny's average 93. He's not done anything particularly special.
He's great on the outer ring, which usually if Johnny averages 93, he's probably about 60% on the outer ring and he beats you. But we
had 11 legs. We had 11 holes of throw. There wasn't a single break of throw. Johnny didn't really put any pressure on Bunting. He just held his throw. Johnny was throwing first and he held his throw for the game.
He basically only played 6 legs. That was it. Like he didn't play the others.
But and that's fine if you that's okay because he got the job done. But yeah, Bunting just on the one night where I thought he might be able to find that this is where the things that have been there the rest of the campaign were lacking. The scoring wasn't there. The average, I mean, you look at the 90 average and you think, well, it's not bad, but it's not what he's been producing. It isn't as good as what he has been able to post. The doubling let him down as well. He had opportunities. Whilst we had 11 breaks a throw, there were opportunities in there for him to break through, and he just couldn't take them. So that, it was.
I think he was the one that had chances, and like you said, Johnny didn't. When we joked that he'd only played 6 legs, but Johnny didn't have a dart at double on Stephen Bunting's throw.
Right, I think
he didn't have a single one in the entire game,
which is mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
mad. And it was a really strange game, but I think that, and I don't know if there is a link, because it's the big pressure one and it's the home fixture and all of that. But I felt like Stephen Bunting under-delivered today. I think the opportunities were there, and he didn't fulfill what he needed to. And I did think he would do better than that today.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a worry, really, isn't it? That this is his home event on the entire calendar of the year, because there's no other darts competition in Liverpool in the PDC. They don't go there other than this night. He's got everyone behind him, and he's obviously just not dealt with the emotion of it, which I feel like he should be able to do at this point in his career.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? I'm looking at the fixtures, and I'm trying to see, where some of the points could come, and it is a race to the bottom. I feel. I think that.
In this.
Don't get me wrong. Josh is in pole position. He's in pole position in that race. But
I think he's going to finish above him in the table.
It only takes a couple of Josh to win a couple of games. Stephen's got some tough fixtures. Leeds perhaps maybe is an opportunity for him, but it very much depends on the version of his opponents that turn up. I think he's got a couple of 2 weeks in a row in that running in Leeds and Birmingham. He's in the same side of the bracket as Humphries, and Humphries is going to be pushing. Like, he's going to be playing. Yeah. He's going to be throwing everything he can to try and make sure that he gets a spot in that fight. He's going to push it to the wire. So, I don't know if Stephen has the fight that the others are going to have and that real desire. Because, again, he's going to keep bumping into players who are playing for a spot in finals night. And I wonder at this stage what he's got to play for other than pride.
And it just matters a little bit more to them. It does. It gets difficult. And like I say, it gets even more difficult. If he loses next week, first round, he's definitely done then. There's no chance he's making up those points. So then it becomes even more difficult. One thing I'm going to throw up here from Joel, the points distribution system. I agree that it makes no sense that there is different amount of points for a semi-final win than any other win. It's never made any sense to me. However, a couple of years ago, I'm pretty sure I did some preparation for a show once. It was the one occasion that I think I've done it.
Right.
I sat there in about week 15 and I went through every single fixture and adjusted it for having either 1 point for the first game of the night and then 2 for semi-final and final, or just going straight 2 for everything. And I don't think it actually made much of a difference in the end.
No, I think...
If anything. I think it might have changed 1 or 2 places round, but in terms of the top 4, I think the top 4 was still the top 4.
I also think
that's the same this year, and I've not sat here and done the work on it, but I agree it makes no sense. It should just be 2 points for every win for me. But either way, I don't think in the end it actually makes a difference because the most consistent players end up where they end up.
Yeah, and obviously they are weighted heavily on winning nights because we are in a tournament bracket format. So you've got to you've got to reward winning the night. I know there's a cash incentive to win the night as well, but you've got to reward winning the night
and a trophy, of course, a trophy.
There is, I mean, undoubtedly a pot. But so you've got to make that the thing that performing within the tournament, and going deep in the tournament or deeper in the tournament, you have to reward that. But it's one of them. I think let's be honest. If at the beginning of the tournament, they don't change it midway through. At the beginning of the tournament, it's clear to everybody. Everybody plays on the same set of rules. Everyone, it's the same for everybody. So, but it's the same. You can say it's unfair to one person, but then changing it around will be unfair to somebody else because they might move. It's an agreed format at the beginning, and if you don't like it, win more games of darts.
Well, that's it. And it rewards consistency for winning your quarterfinal week in, week out. It also rewards you for winning the night and sort of stops you, I suppose, from switching off when you get to the final. But yeah, I kind of think it should just be the same across the board. But he would still be back of Van Gerwen as sort of, as we've said there anyway, it was just on 2 points per game. He'd still be 2 points back rather than 4 points back. So
yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't massively change anything. And he needs to go and win a night.
Yeah, win stuff.
Yeah. On to the third game of the night then, before we get bogged down in talking about points for too long. I thought this was a very, very solid performance from Michael Van Gerwen in running out a 6-3 win over Josh Rock.
Yeah, and you know what? He just keeps churning them out, like it or not. There are some folk that I think see Michael as part of the old world of darts, and they see darts moving on from him, and I think people think there is a point at which he's going to be left behind, and he just keeps reminding people that he's not. He's still there, and he still competes at the very, very top levels, and he's holding that spot in the green, if you like. He's still on course for a trip to the O2, and it was very, very steady. Came out, started fast, throwing some 180s, immediately broke the throw, then he held it, broke again, 3-0 up, and when he's playing like that at 3-0 up, like that is, I think when you are in the position Josh Rock is in, you need points and you need performances. You've got to get out early, break early, or make it competitive. But short form, first to 6, 3-0 back's a long way, 2 breaks down. And
yeah, it doesn't help when your opponent starts with an 11 darter.
Well, I know, but Michael just started. He started too well, got out of the blocks too quickly, and by the time Josh grew into that game, which he did, through the middle of that game, when he brought Michael to get it back to 3-1, then he held his throw, and I thought, like Josh is in this now, he's coming back. But he missed then the opportunity to level that game up. Michael then got his foot down, and Michael had done all his best work too early, and Josh was just too far away. That 2 breaks are down, 2 breaks down immediately, 3-0 back on a race to 6. You're not going to catch Michael when he's playing decent. He doesn't need to be playing averaging 107. If he's playing well and he's doubling well, which he was, if you give him a 2 break head start on a race to 6, he's going to have you.
He's too good to manage it. It's managing it out and ending up where he wants to be. I thought the scoring from him tonight, the grouping of the dart in the treble 20 was as good as I've seen it for a number of years from him.
It was
like on the odd occasion here and there where he looks all right for a leg or two. It was pretty consistent today, and it looked good.
Yeah, and I know. I tell you what, it's a bit of an odd observation, and it might even be wrong, but it's just a feeling. But I feel like the last time we really saw him hitting the treble 20, as well as he was today with that tight grouping, really drilling it into there, we actually was seeing, we saw a lot of that treble 19 switch as well, because it felt like he was really dialed in. He was very conscious of how every dart had gone in, and we saw the treble 19 switch a lot. We barely saw it at all tonight. And I don't know whether that's a change in the throw and the way the darts have gone in, and he's a bit more confident with the way that they're in the board, and he doesn't mind drilling that third one in.
A bit more consistently and a bit more at the angle he wants them to go in at.
Yeah, and so, we weren't seeing that treble 19 switch, but I think the positivity in that was we were seeing the third dart go. The third dart was going where it was meant to quite a few times, because often he would switch away. And when you switch away, yes, if you're elite and you're him, you'll often hit that treble 19. But it is difficult. It's difficult to move around the board in that scoring phase. And, I thought he was really down, especially in this game. And, Michael, if he can keep finding that and then build on it and add to the other part, he's always going to be a danger, isn't he? But he's more dangerous when he can score like that through that scoring phase of the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
14
exactly.
180s from Michael.
Yeah, which magic from him in 2 games.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right, 4th quarterfinal. Are we now very, very worried about Lou Humphries' chances of making the top 4? Because we've been concerned for a while.
I would have been. I tell you, right, and everyone can laugh at me, but I still think there are a good lump of points on offer. I still think he's got
And
leads
they can
to
pick up another 20 still, which will put him to 33, which should be enough.
But I still think he's got leads to come. I think some of the brackets that you look ahead upon, and you look at Humphries, certainly that night in Leeds, when he plays Josh Rock in the opening match, then the winner of Van Veen Bunting, I think, well, that's almost worked quite nicely. That it's in Leeds for him, and that's his bracket. Which
and we've seen him play in Leeds, and we've seen him not do a Stephen Bunting and
exactly
overwhelmed with it. We've seen him.
No, it's been a happy hunting ground.
There.
I think 2 years on the bounce he's won in Leeds, hasn't he? So he's looking for a hat trick. He's gone seeking the hat trick. And let's be honest, if you could select a bracket, 3 players to be in your half of the bracket this year, it would be Rock, Bunting, and Van Veen, probably the 3 most inconsistent players. You've got
the people that are 5, 7, and 8 in the table. Certainly, yeah.
You've got the top 4 in one half and the bottom 4 in the other. So I think I think that there are points. And then the week after that in Birmingham, Humphries' opening game is against Bunting. And I think there is, that's what I was talking about Bunting earlier on. That game there, you could have Humphries in spitting distance of a spot, Bunting with nothing to play for. Humphries turns up, angry, motivated, desperate. And I still think that there is hope. And I think, excuse me, I think if I was going to put 50 pence on somebody displacing Gezi or Michael, then I think I would back Humphries before I'd back Van Veen.
Yeah,
at the minute.
I think you're probably right. Like, I do not foresee a Premier League season where Luke Humphries doesn't win a night.
No, although I worried about him tonight a little bit in that
the fact that he still can't get anywhere near a double, and he hasn't been able to all season.
Doubling was pawny.
Every week. We've said to come back to it. Like it was even worse tonight, but every week it's been 20-odd%, like 27, 28. It was 18 tonight. Like, regardless of what changes, his little changes he's made, which he hasn't made drastic changes to his setup, but small ones, and they've probably improved his scoring a little bit. But since he's done it, he has lost all ability to close a leg out.
Well, he is, over the course of this year's tournament, he is 0.02 points behind Luke Littler.
He's the highest average, yeah.
For the highest minute. No, by 0.02, he's like half a visit away from having the highest average of everybody.
Yeah.
But his doubling there is only Bunting and Rock worse. His doubling's nowhere near where it needs to be to compete. And it's ruining all the hard work he's doing on his scoring. And I don't know what the answer is, because I don't know if he knows what the problem is. I don't know if there is I don't know if it is pressure. I don't know if it's, the scoring's fine. So the darts seem to be going all right. Like, technically, I don't think there's an issue. But the doubles are a real issue, and he's going to have to solve them. Or whilst I think he's got a chance, he's only got a chance if he can sort the doubling out, because it's not good enough, I'm afraid.
No, not at all. And that is the problem. But every week, I'll sit here and say this, but when it comes to the next week, I just expect him to figure it out.
Yes.
Because...
Agreed. I'm sick of picking him.
Yeah. Like he will figure it out at some point because he's far too good not to. And like I say, the scoring shows you that. The fact he's still averaging what he does when he's throwing many darts that aren't scoring him any points because he can't hit the outer ring.
Yeah, because they're not hitting anything.
Shows you how well the game actually sort of is, and he that's why I just believe he will figure it out. On to the semi-finals then.
Well, hey, business end.
That's it. 1 point on offer, as we've touched on already, for the semi-finals. This was a great game. And it was bloody magic from Johnny Clayton.
Well, yeah, it was a brilliant game, and it was once again another Thursday night masterclass from Johnny Clayton. But you know, this game,
it was the from 3-1 where he then goes, takes out 1-2-1, then a bit of a faffy leg, and then the 1-0-1 goes, and then the 1-5-6 goes, and all of a sudden he's got a 2-leg lead from being 3-1 down, and it just shell shocked Jan at that point.
Yeah, but I thought Jan did well to. Like he didn't seem broken by it. You know, it was a really entertaining, proper back and forth. Like this is a Premier League match. You know, it's breaks of throw backwards and forwards. We had 9 180s, 22 140s. You know, like the standard was superb. Johnny's finishing was sublime. You know, he was 6 from 9, but like that doesn't tell the story. Like, you know, it's the trademark 1-2-1. The big 1-5-6 was stunning, but again, you know, Jan was really good as well, and I felt a bit for him because he's just been Johnny. You know, he's just been outdone by Mr. Thursday Night, hasn't he? That's his problem. He's
literally. I think basically any other day of the week, I think Jan wins this, but not on a Thursday night at the moment.
No,
because Johnny does not like to lose on a Thursday night.
No, if this is, I tell you what, if this is on the floor in Milton Keynes, Jan wins this.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, the way that he hit the outer ring, the way he hit in the middle of the board in this game, like setting it up with 167 on multiple occasions.
And then missing the 167 when he needed it.
That's it. And for some reason, he took 4.5 hours overthrowing that ball. And I don't know why he didn't just ping it at it straight away.
No, it's always funny, isn't it? Because, excuse me, it is very late. It's one of those funny ones because if he'd have pinged that ball, then everyone would be saying, "What didn't he do well composing himself?
Yeah,
you know, didn't he do well?
We only say this
yeah."
Yeah, like it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like with everything in sport. Like
you live and die by the result, don't you? That's it.
By what the result is and whether you get it right or not. Like
it was very nearly for him. And I think you've got to feel a bit for Jan in that situation. But again, like props to Johnny Clayton because once again he's delivered the goods and he's done it in real style. In what I do think is a proper Thursday night back and forth Premier League game where they've hit big scores, there's big finishes, they've exchanged breaks of throw, it's gone to the wire, missed ball for the match, like really superb game, top draw.
Yeah. So after that we thought, well, second semi-final, it's not going to live up to that first one, is it?
No, of course not. How could it?
No, exactly. And then we saw Michael van Gerwen get into an early lead and thought, well, Michael van Gerwen just manages these games out from here and he'll be absolutely fine. He's got an early breaker throw. He'll be okay, yeah? No. just
no.
Because
I'll tell you
again, ridiculous. Like,
and this is the difference, right? So when Michael got that breaker throw up against Josh, I thought, like you say, he knows what to do from here. He knows where the finishing line is. He knows he's got that break. Just needs to hold his throw. He does, and at no point did I think he was going to get pegged back. At no point did I think Littler wasn't going to win this game. And I don't know whether, and I think some of it was maybe I think Littler did a very good job of settling after that first game. Clearly, the crowd were at him. There was boos. There was boos. There was boos when he was going to throw a double. It wasn't just the walk on. He when he went to the hockey to throw for a double, there was boos coming through. Clearly coming through the sound mix. So I think he did a really, really good job. Obviously, there was a lot of breaks and throws backwards and forwards. Went to a deciding leg. Was very tense. Michael is gonna feel somewhat aggrieved, averaging over 107.5. He's got 71%. He's gone 5 from 7 on his doubles to lose a game when you score, to lose a game with those stats. But if you've got those stats, see what, if you come to me and you show me those stats and say he lost that game, who beat him? I'll say it must have been Littler.
Yeah.
Must have
no
been
one
Littler.
else. Actually, I'd take that back. The only other man would be Thursday night Johnny Clayton, Johnny Clayton maybe, yeah. Johnny Clayton can have 85% on his doubles, 95, but he'd be 100% on his doubles and win because he'll do that at times.
Yeah, but again, Littler just clinical, and I think 6 from 7 on your doubles, 85%, only missing one double in the match. When the crowd is against you, when you have had a lot of press, all anybody wants to talk about, what a boring conversation, the fact that he's a Man United fan. I just think I normally never miss an opportunity to go in 2-footed on a Man United fan.
I was going to say, quite literally, I've seen you do it in a supermarket.
Oh, mate, I'll do it in Asda if I see someone with
down the aisle and took you out.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't even check if they've got shinnies on or anything. I'll just go straight in. But it
is odd going to the supermarket with you when you put your boots on.
Yeah, I can be seen anytime you like in the Tesco in Minehead, folks, twice a year.
Sounding a little bit like a horse, just with the old screw-in metal studs. Just
absolutely, but it was great. Again, it gives me more. It convinces me more that Michael is Michael's game is in such a good position because he's scoring all night tonight. The way he was hitting that treble 20, the way the darts were grouping was so good. And the only player on the planet he doesn't beat playing like that he did there is Littler. If Littler decides to tune in and make it, and go at him, and timing was very good for Littler. He just turned it on at the right spot.
As Carwin would have said, he did the right things at the right times.
And the thing is, in that game, when your opponent's playing that well, is there's maybe only one. You only maybe get one.
You don't get many opportunities.
Times.
You can't let
you
any
don't get
go.
many right times in the game, so you've got to do the right thing at the right time. So if you don't, you're packing your bag and you're going home, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, 100%. So we were on to the final, and I did not think this was going to be one-sided when we came into it.
Sometimes, certainly
not if Johnny Clayton was going to score well enough to average in the high 90s. I didn't think it would be one-sided.
What I thought after that semi-final win over Michael is I saw Luke very relaxed. Like, he wasn't giving it big licks against Michael. And let's be honest, there was plenty of opportunity to give it big licks against Michael. And he seemed to be managing himself and the game and the crowd and his interactions with the world around him very, very well in that semi-final. And I thought that we were going to see what we sort of did see, which was a trajectory through the evening of Littler getting better and better and better. And, he played better in the semi than he did in the first round. And I expected to see a better version. Johnny, I wasn't sure. Johnny has averaged high 90s for pretty much the whole tournament. I think his tournament averaged 97.2. So he's around there always. With that 102 in the semis, I thought Johnny's almost sort of he's playing above his mean average, and he is. He's playing above what he normally plays in the Premier League. And I wasn't. I didn't think it'd be. I mean, I didn't think he'd go 5-0 up. I thought Johnny had hold a few more games earlier on. We didn't see.
It was almost like Johnny Clayton missed a 1-2-1 on the Bull, which I feel like happens once in a blue moon that he misses it. Like, he's the best player in the world at 1-2-1. He misses that in the first leg, and I almost sort of thought it broke him a little bit. Like, he was like, well, that doesn't happen. I don't understand what's gone on here.
Yeah, and Luke
he never really looked like winning a leg. And even when he won a leg, I didn't really think he was going to win a leg at the end.
Do you think that Johnny perhaps... So I think, and I could have it dead wrong, but I think Johnny Clayton
doing enough to stay top of the table, and he's not out.
Well, not even that. I think Johnny Clayton wants to go to the O2, and I think he knows he's going to the O2, and I think it's maybe in that position, if that's what your goal is and that's where you're at. I don't know whether it's difficult to really motivate the eye of the tiger 3 times a night and really get up for it and what's left to play for. Whereas I think that Luke really wants.
Well, even if I lose this game to him, still 3 points ahead of him, and
I think Luke really.
If I play him when he might go ahead of me, then I'll turn up a little bit at that point, and I'll give a bit more of a shit. But for now, if I keep getting 3 points a week, I'm gonna more than likely finish top of the table anyway.
Correct, and that's what I think there's maybe a bit of that in play. I think Luke still wants that top spot, and I think he's coming for it. I think Johnny, to an extent, has almost achieved his goal from the Premier League this year. Was first and foremost, which I think he did a long time ago. Well, he did it for me. He did it before the tournament started. But for to a lot of people, justified his inclusion, which I think he did fairly early in the campaign.
Very early, yeah.
Once he's reminded everybody who he is, that he's Mr. Thursday Night, then his next goal is I'm going to the O2. He's now secured that's happening. So, I don't know, again, and clearly he is motivated and he wants to win matches. But, I do think it's maybe hard when you haven't got that urgency, that desire for the next goal that's today.
Well, I think if he was
motivate yourself 3 times in a night.
Yeah, if he was sat in 5th right now, I think we'd have seen a closer final.
Agreed.
Than we 100%. Would with him sat top of the table.
Yeah.
And it's just natural. It's human nature, I think.
That's right. Yeah, it is. You've got 2 people, different goals, different situations, and I think that manifested itself quite evidently in that final. Then.
Yeah, I did think Luke was excellent, though. I thought it was a really, really sort of solid professional performance. It was head down. It was just go and do your job. It was one of those where he just wasn't going to get drawn in with anything, and he was just going to make sure he won the night and move on to the next week.
Absolutely. No, it was top draw. Really good performance all night. Another one.
Yeah. So let's hear from him, should we? Let's see what he says. Because, of course, the hardest working man in darts, the famous Mr. Phil Bars, who is sat in the background watching us now. I think he's watching us. He might be doing more work. I'm not really sure. But he is still in the back end. He usually drops out as soon as he's put the clip in. But we have got Luke Littler. So let's hear from him. Once we're done tonight as well, you'll be able to listen to this in full on the channel as well.
No, we've not spoke, but I'm not the type of person to go up and talk to him or something like that. Maybe he's waiting for me to go and talk to him, but I'm not the type of person, even in the practice room, obviously they'll talk to me first. I'm not the type of person to be chatting away. Yeah, I mean, obviously we can settle it on the darts board. But yeah, the back room, it's just been normal. Just been the same preparation wise, and yeah, I think he's forgot about it. I forgot about it. But yeah, if I need to talk to him, then I will.
I was not surprised at the content of the interview and what it was going to be.
What it related to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very much
I think it speaks for itself.
New generation, I think, isn't it? That me and you were in the back room. We'd have a chat with each other because we're older blokes.
You know me, I'm high-fiving strangers on the night bus. Me,
yeah, exactly. Whereas the new generation, they just put their headphones in and don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah, and I think there are, I think Luke's quite, for the right reasons, and clearly it works. I think he's quite protective over his mindset.
Yeah.
pre-game. Not, I don't think he's a mad superstition, going through but I just think.
No, I think he just
doesn't
does his
allow.
thing.
I think he doesn't allow things.
Comfortable.
Yeah, I think he doesn't allow things to get in the way of his preparation, and I think so. I'm sure at some point they will catch up with each other and have a discussion, but I don't know if it'll really be something that they.
I think
I think they're probably.
At some point soon, people are going to stop asking about it, and as soon as they do, that'll be the end of it. And
everyone will forget it happened, won't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That is it, and then it will be tomorrow's chip paper at that point.
Quite right.
Which when Gezi was asked about it, he didn't say that, and I was very disappointed in him because I thought it was a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. If there's a man to make a chip pun, then he is the one, isn't he?
That's it. So it is now.
Ooh.
Your chance to get involved in the chat room. Obviously, we've thrown a couple of bits up already, but this is the one where you get your proper chance to get involved.
We're going to Aberdeen.
Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why you're right. Give us your predictions for next week. If you're trying to do it and you can't, it's because you've not clicked subscribe. If you've not clicked subscribe, why? First of all, but make sure you get it done. Throw a like on at the same time, just because we like to feel liked. We're like that. And yeah, then you can get involved and you can try and look like the smartest person in the room, like everyone else tries to do every week. I haven't got any predicting wine tonight.
Neither have I. It's a dry one for me tonight.
I've got
worked too early in the morning.
Bottle of water, and I've just finished off a lemsip. So yeah, that's not for me this evening. So
we're going to P&J, aren't we?
We are going to the P&J. We are in Aberdeen this week, and this is the last of the great arenas that are still named after the local paper.
Yeah, the Press and Journal, innit? The local Aberdeenshire paper.
That is it. We only know this because I think it was either last year or the year before, but me and you sat here during a Fallout bar and actually researched it. Because we were like, why is it called that? What is P&J?
The peanut butter and jelly live arena, peanut butter and jelly live arena, or something.
Yeah, well, that's what. Yeah, so
it's a cool looking venue, isn't it? It looks very cool from the outside. Yeah. I've never been to it, but from the outside, it's an architectural masterpiece. It looks very cool.
You do like that in Scotland, though, don't they? They like a little
something angular.
Yeah,
bit angular, stands out on the horizon. We got some nice little game. Well, I don't know. It depends who you are, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll start off with an opportunity for Luke Littler, the prime opportunity to close the gap on Johnny Clayton straight away next week. You'd have to say, just looking at the table, as he takes on Josh Rock in the opener. Which way are you going, Dan?
Right, so there's manifesting chaos and there's just being a Burke, isn't there?
And you've been accused of both at times.
And I often try and harmonise the two. But unfortunately, it's going to just have to be common sense, I'm afraid. 6-3, Mr. Littler.
Yeah, I don't think you're far wrong here. I think we'll see flashes from Josh, as we have done. But flashes aren't enough to get you past Luke Littler. They're enough to maybe win you the odd game against other people.
Might hold a throw a couple of times against him, but that's it. That's about it, isn't it?
As we've mentioned, a motivated Littler that wants that top spot is going to win this, and I'm going to go one wider than you. I'm going to go 6-2. What have we got?
I'll give you that.
Chat? Bob, 6-3 Littler. 6-3 Littler for the Marathon horse. That's a new one. What else have we got, Gordon? Everyone's been a little bit slow this evening. Gordon's usually in straight away. He's busy talking about the arena and everything else. 6-2 Luke for Alistair. Right. We're just going to rattle through them because
people
People are clearly half asleep. So, Stephen Bunting against Gerwen Price, second game. Which way are you going?
I think Gezi will be frustrated about that loss tonight, and I don't think Bunting can lift himself enough. So 6-4 Gezi.
I'm going to follow the theme of the first one. I'm going the same result as you, but I'm going one wider. I'm having it 6-3 for Gezi. But I think
we're on a pattern. We've fallen early, haven't we? We've fallen into a pattern.
Wins pretty comfortably for me. Right, Johnny Clayton against Jan van Veen in the third game. We'll throw everyone's predictions at the end. I'll go first on this one because you went first on the first two. I'm going to take Johnny Clayton to win. I think this is another close one. I think it's very similar to the semi-final this week. 6-5 Johnny Clayton.
I'm going to break from the pattern here because Johnny, he's got to have a weakness somewhere, hasn't he? Like, he's got to have. He's got to have. He went through a little spell of 3 quarter-final losses, and then he's had 3 weeks on the spin when he's made the final. I think he goes out in the quarter-final, and I think Jan makes that run a little bit more interesting and closes the
gap a little bit.
6-4.
6-4 for Jan. And then we are on to Luke Humphries against Michael van Gerwen. I'll go first again. I think he has to win this if he's going to make the top 4. I know we said he might win a night in Leeds and potentially win another night. But if he gets to the point of being 7 points away minimum after this, I think he's really struggling. So Humphries wins 6-3.
Ooh.
Because also I have very little faith in that Van Gerwen will do what he did this week again next week.
I think I agree with absolutely everything you've said. And the only caveat I would put on it is Jan and Luke can't close the gap if Michael picks up first round points. So the only way the only way that we can get a tighter run into the finish is for Luke Humphries to beat Michael opening round, which I do think will happen next week, and he'll do it, but he'll do it right on the wire, 6-5.
There we go, 6-5 for you. Right, let's throw a couple up from the chat room. What have we got? Right, so we have got Bunting 6-5, Price 6-3, Bunting 6-5, Price 6-4, and then we've got Johnny 6-5, Johnny 6-4, Jan 6-4, and then we have got MVG 6-5 for Gordon. Marathon has got a 6-3 for Van Veen. We have got Luke Humphries 6-1 for Bob, and Alistair's got a 6-4 for MVG. So it is now finalist and winner from your 4 quarter-final winners. Your opportunity to go first, Dan. Where are you going?
Wouldn't it be interesting if after weeks and weeks of everyone talking about Leeds, he got the jump on everyone and did it 1 week before everyone suggesting he will? And
then goes into that looking at potentially jumping up to 3rd in the table, and everyone.
Yeah, and this is
Imagine it's a little bit like we were with Littler at the start, where he was struggling, and then all of a sudden, after 2 weeks, we all just went, "All right, normal service is resumed."
And I think imagine him going into Leeds on the back of that win. And I think people have talked about it so much that now that you're only like Leeds is the next one after. It's almost like everyone's not looking at him for this one, and they're all just looking at Leeds. So I'm going to pick Luke Humphries to beat Luke Littler in the final.
See, you've stolen me thunder. And
Sorry.
I shouldn't have let you go first.
No, this is it. See, it's like you were you had the control there.
I know, but I like to be generous.
You should have known I'd do something silly.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's be on your. It's gonna be on your tombstone. That.
You should have known I'd do something silly. There we go.
Right. What have we got in the chat? Gordon's got 6-4 for Luke over Johnny in the final. Humphries beats Bunting 6-4 in the final for Bob. And Littler beats MVG 6-3 for Alistair. I think Luke Humphries wins as well, but I want to be slightly different to you. So I'm going to say that Gezi wins against
I was back and forth as to once I decided Humphries winning, I knew what my other semi-final was, and it's to be fair, if you'd have come to me second, there's a decent chance I would have had more thinking time, and I'd have ended up. I'd have gone back and forth at whichever one I was at the time you came to me. It could have been that. So
yeah, exactly.
I think it's a fair call.
Yeah, I think Gezi beats Littler, getting him up to sort of 22 points, and I think that puts him close to being safe at that point. So it takes him out of that equation for dropping out of there, especially with Van Gerwen losing first round, as it will be if that is the case. And then, so Humphries goes on, though, and wins it, moves himself up potentially into fourth, dependent on, because he'll have won the same matches and same number of nights and have the same points as Van Gerwen. It'll come down to leg difference and God knows who's ahead on that. I haven't got a table that's that detailed. So, potentially into the top four at that point. And that, I think, is done this evening.
That is. It's a wrap.
Very much for joining us, everyone, as always. Thank you for making the show what it is. And someone will see you next week. I don't know. It might be me. It might be Dan. It might be both of us. It might be Carwin. Could be the new boys. It could even be Clayton. It could even be, because he's been promising it for the last couple of weeks and not done it and not given me a night off when I have tried to get one.
Yeah, you're old one, aren't you?
The only night I did get off, I had to spend it with him anyway.
Babysitting,
so that wasn't a night off either, to leave him on his side so that he wasn't.
No, I've seen, there's a receipt there. I've seen you being promised a night off by him.
Yeah, so we'll see. Anything could happen. It'll probably be me, though. Let's be honest. I'll probably be it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thanks for getting involved. And we will see you all next week after we leave the P&J Arena in Aberdeen.